What is up? You are checking out the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ant, and you are checking out our Attitude Era recap series. And I am joined by my guest host today. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Thank you, Anthony. Excuse me. My name is the infamous CDP. Real name Cornelius Powell. Been a wrestling fan for about 20-something years. Happy to be here for this first episode. Just trying to see what the vibe is like. And I turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you, P. So my dude P is going to be here. He was 9 when this happened. So I'm going to get to pick his brain a little bit throughout the show as we discuss this episode. And thank you all for checking us out. I really appreciate you taking the time to check out our Attitude Era recaps. So this show is taking place, of course, it's Monday night. Well, Raw is War. Like we're in 2022, but we're not, folks. We're actually on January 5th, 1998. We're live in my hometown of New Haven, Connecticut at the New Haven Coliseum. It's cool to see my old stomping grounds on TV. But we start off Raw is War with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's backstage and he proclaims that everyone else belongs to me. So he's pretty much coming after everybody. He has a target on his back at this year's Royal Rumble. But
interesting thing about this segment, right?
Yeah.
Austin said in the pager, like he said everybody in the locker room has a pager. And if they say like 316 on it, they're in trouble. And that's when Austin started to say one of his famous lines, do unto others before others do unto him. So another interesting thing about this episode, as a spoiler, and I don't mean to spoil anybody, I'm pretty sure you remember the segment of Raw where like The Rock saw the pager and then he got stunned, right?
Yeah.
That did not happen this episode.
That's right. I think it did, didn't it?
No, sir. No, sir, it did not.
Oh,
Again, another spoiler. Sorry for everybody. Austin does advance to stun The Rock, but The Rock does not look at his pager like that legendary segment that we all remember. The Rock did not look at his pager, and then like he turned around and he got stunned by Austin.
I think you know what? I think it might have already happened in our series.
Really?
I think so. I think because I think it might have been in December of 1997 when it happened, because I remember he had the title belt, the Intercontinental title, and he threw it over into the I don't know if it was a lake or a harbor, wherever the hell they were. And I think at one point, I mean, it could be, it's either coming up or happened already, but you're right, dude. It did not happen in this episode, but that was a big moment. I remember Rock's like face when it happens.
Well, we are about 2 weeks from the Royal Rumble. And if I remember this Royal Rumble correctly, The Rock and Stone Cold was the final two.
Yes, they were. So that, I think that's why what was so good about this time was that storytelling lasted for months.
Oh, God, yes.
So the In Your House DX pay-per-view where it was The Rock versus Stone Cold, that wasn't the final outing between the two. As you'll see with our recap, it goes on for years and years. But speaking of The Rock, our first match takes place. We're seeing the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, taking on the leader of the Nation of Domination, Faaroq. And P, I do want to ask you about this for a shock out here to all those, if you don't mind me saying. P, you're African American, and the Nation of Domination was a huge group. Whether you were African American, Hispanic, white, everyone knew who the Nation was. Very controversial group. For me, I enjoyed it no matter what. We are the Nation of Domination.
Of course, man. How can you not love the Nation though? Especially, if you was like me, a young African American kid, you seeing people on TV. a little background, like me and Ant was like talking about how like I do appreciate there are like more minorities being world champions and stuff like that. But going on about the Nation of Domination, of course, like there was a legendary group. What I don't like is what like people try to make every new African American stable like, oh, they're the new nation. Like when the Hurt Business first came out, those like, oh, they're giving the first nation by. I said, no, they're the Hurt Business. They are the Nation of Domination. Just like the New Day is the New Day, but let them do their own thing. You know, that's like my own complaint about it.
I think for me as a wrestling fan, and I think this would be something that I think you could speak on because you are African American, so you live through stuff that maybe others haven't, as every other human has. I think a lot of wrestling fans, what they liked about the Nation of Domination, I think, was some of what they were talking about was the truth. I'm not saying that, you know, when they're talking about, you know, Whitey and all of that stuff, that's all, you know, storyline. That's none of these people really meant that. But in what they were representing, sort of, and you know, the similarities with them and the NAACP, I think a lot of people nowadays with wrestling, it's more cartoonish, I would say, I think, in my opinion. And I think people, what they like about the Nation of Domination is, even though, and this is my question for you.
Okay.
There were people like who saw the Nation as heels, you know, because they're saying like Black power, like fuck all these people, it's time for us. How did you view them at a young age? Were you thinking of that at the time? Were you like, oh, did they make sense? Being an adult now, how do you view them? Like, what? Because the Nation is a lot of people, they're a controversial subject because a lot of people really either like them and were like, it's offensive, it's great, and then there are some people who are like, it's offensive, it's terrible. So where did you stand on that, and as an adult today?
Okay, let me hit this dial pen first before I answer this. All right, so I believe Chris Rock a few years ago on Comedy Specials said the best. For Black people, America is like the uncle that paid for our college education but molested us when we was a kid. What I mean by that is like without sounding too controversial. Yes, what the Nation was speaking of was controversial, but like you said, we're based off some real life issues. Like one of the inspirations of the Nation was the Nation of Islam, was particularly like the Malcolm X 70s era Nation of Islam.
Yep.
So once you like see all these like big Black men coming out in all this militant gear, though, it's gonna make some people feel uncomfortable. But I will say this, Ant, do you watch do you ever watch Dark Side of the Ring?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the New Jack episode?
Yes, sir, I have.
Oh my God, people! Oh my God, they will start riots if Vince McMahon ever lost his mind back in 97 and 96 and actually signed New Jack, and they actually brought that gimmick what he was doing to Smoky Mountain. Oh my God!
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They will riot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. That was a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. I always find it interesting because I remember like the thing is like they weren't doing anything wrong. I guess the storyline is reverse discrimination, I guess, or in a way. But in actuality, it was more of just like power to the people. Like, we're gonna protect ours and what you all do, and you know, we are just by any means necessary, the Nation of fucking Domination, you know.
Now,
but I do.
Can I add on to like my answer also?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Now, like, it's funny. The funny thing as we get into this match, though, The Rock will somehow be involved, right? Now, when The Rock took over the Nation, I kind of wonder what's the symbolism in a way, though, because like when The Rock took over the Nation, they became like more cool instead of becoming like militant. They became like, I don't know. I don't want to use the word stereotype, But the Godfather became a pimp. What else? The Godfather became a pimp. D-Lo became D-Lo's D-Lo's is fucking amazing though. I don't care what nobody says though. D-Lo back in 1998 was freaking amazing, dude. But it's kind of wonder now, like 9-year-old me. I like I like the Rock version of the Nation, but at the same time, it's like growing up now with the glasses of hindsight and everything else. It's like, was that like one of those things that like might have aged horribly when I became older? I'm not sure.
No, yeah, I definitely there are some moments, definitely one moment in this episode that aged horribly. But I do think it's interesting to look at the Nation of Domination because they're just a great stable, and whether or not you loved or hated them, they made an impact, and they're very, very influential. But let's get to the match. So again, Faaroq taking on Ken Shamrock. The match starts off with Ken Shamrock suplexing Faaroq into the ring. Faaroq then nails a Samoan drop and tosses Ken Shamrock to the outside. The Rock then appears on stage. Faaroq lands a shoulder tackle, but then Ken Shamrock hits a Hurricane Rana. Rock then goes to Kama Mustafa, whispers something in his ear. Kama then sets up a chair in the ring, and Faaroq accidentally runs into it. And then Shamrock hits a belly to belly, applies the ankle lock, and Faaroq taps out. After the match, Faaroq yells at Kama. Stone Cold runs in and then nails a stunner on both Ken Shamrock and The Rock. So a lot of stuff going on here. Let's talk about the match. So yes, Pete, tell me what were your thoughts on the match and the situation of the Nation as a whole?
Faaroq did an awesome reversal to Shamrock, where I think Shamrock was trying to go for like head scissors or something, and then Faaroq called him by his arm and his legs, and he had him like stretched out across his back. I think he was going for like a white noise type of maneuver, and he slammed in the back. So I thought that was great. I thought it was interesting how JR says Shamrock is a future WWF champion, and if only, right?
Yep, Faaroq would have been a fucking dominant champion. And
no, sir. JR said that Shamrock was a future.
Oh, you say Shamrock? I thought you said Faaroq because I'm just thinking of how fucking awesome Faaroq is. I'm sorry, Ken Shamrock. My only thing with Ken Shamrock is he didn't do anything on the mic.
Dude, it's funny that you said that because another spoiler for everybody, Ken Shamrock does a promo later on in this match. So you can kind of see why Vince wouldn't put the belt on him. I did. I don't know about you, but
it's not great. But I do respect him as a wrestler and an athlete. Like he's a fucking tough motherfucker. In this time frame for him too, he could have been a dominant Intercontinental champion. But we'll talk about that potential going on. But what do you think of The Rock and the Nation? Like, do you think there's obviously there's some crumbling happening here? What do you think of that miscue with a steel chair?
Well, I gotta say, as an FYI for everybody, I will be speaking for everything with hindsight because I didn't start watching Raw until that episode with Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone said that Mick Foley was going to win the WWE title. I was one of the 600K people that changed from Nitro to Raw that night. So with hindsight, speaking of everything else, you could tell like the main focus is The Rock. You could tell like they're going to try to make Rock into a star or stuff like that. Matter of fact, with hindsight and everything else, once we said earlier, Rock and Austin was the final two, and they will wind up like main event in WrestleMania the next year. It's kind of crazy how, like you said earlier, how much storytelling was really was emphasized back then in the WWF back in those days.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we get a commercial break. We come back. Raw sponsored by the Army. We then have Jim Cornette in the ring. And Cornette has brought the presidents of the NWA with him. He also has the NWA title. He says that Jim Cornette says that NWA stands for tradition, and they will anoint a winner of the next contest as the NWA North American champion.
So typical Jim Cornette, basically.
Yeah, Jim Cornette's just like Jim Cornette is you either love him or hate him. I think he's pretty funny just because he's dramatic and extra, but Okay, so the
I'll,
match is Jeff
we'll talk
Jarrett.
about that later.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett taking on Barry Windham. And not a lot going on here. The match ends when Cornette hits Barry Windham with his racket, allowing Jeff Jarrett to get the victory. And Jeff is your new NWA North American champion. After the match, Stone Cold runs in and nails a stunner on Jeff Jarrett. So, what are your
Which is,
thoughts on NWA right now? Oh, Barry Windham, Jeff Jarrett, the whole Jim Cornette NWA angle, and does win for Jarrett.
well, I gotta say, like, everybody remembers like certain stunners, like The Rock, take a pick.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon this year. But this stunner he did to Jeff Jarrett was often forgotten, along with another stunner that he did later on this evening. Because after when Austin came in and stunned Jarrett, though he did the strut.
Yep.
And
That
then and then I remember that used to be on what Stone Cold's Titantron, or like they used it in highlight footage or something. But yeah, I think that stunner awfully gets forgotten about. Now I should say that this was about as close as Jarrett was ever going to get through working with Austin, because rumor was backstage, because of what Jeff's dad Jerry did when Austin was working for, what was it, USWA or something like that, that he stiffed him out of pay or something like that. And I think like later, I think it was later that Jerry cut like that promo after Austin became champion. It would talk about how Austin 316 was blasphemous, and that just shat the bed like any opportunity of Jeff Jarrett working with Austin. But what else, Because like Jeff Jarrett is low key great. I don't care what nobody says. Jeff Jarrett is low key great.
And I agree. And what do you think about NWA during this time? Did you care about them? Do you care about the group? I mean, it's a big hearing right now in WWE at this point.
I mean, I'm gonna say this right now: the WWF Championship is just a bastard child of the NWA World Championship.
Ooh,
I have to say that right now.
NWA fan, okay.
But
you were probably excited when you saw this when it happened.
No, I can't say I was excited because like the NWA was WWF property around this time.
Oh yes, so you knew it was gonna be okay. I see.
I mean, and then just think about it. You had a title change, and you had your brand new champion get stunned by your hottest star in the company. We all knew Vince McMahon was not going to give the NWA the light of day. Well, with hindsight.
Yeah, I think it was interesting for me because I don't remember this during this time. I remember the NWA titles, being online, being on the line and defended on Raw and stuff back in the day. But yeah, it's interesting to see them trying to redevelop NWA. Next, Sunny comes out. Yeah, and bury it. Exactly. Sunny comes out. She's dressed like a schoolgirl, and she is here to announce the next match. And we have the Truth Commission, which is Sniper and Recon, with the Jackal taking on the DOA, the Disciples of Apocalypse. And the DOA send Truth Commission into the railing, and they nail a double big boot. Truth Commission take over and attack 8-Ball. Recon misses a flying splash. DOA ended up getting the win, and after the match, Kurrgan attacks DOA, and he applies a claw on one of the DOA members. What are your thoughts on the Truth Commission?
The Truth Commission is often controversial because, if I'm not mistaken, they're based up on the apartheid group in South Africa.
Yep.
Which I don't know why Vince Russo or the writers thought that was a good idea. Maybe that's the reason why they decided to separate Kurrgan later on down the year or something. I'm not sure. I didn't think much of this match. Really a bathroom break for me.
Yeah.
Sunny with hindsight. Yikes.
Yeah, but I mean, I know, God forbid what's going on with her now. I'd rather fucking stay far away. My God. Poor Sonny's got to get a life change. Yeah, I agree with you. Not a lot going on here. DOA isn't that great either in my mind.
Don Callis, though, or the Jack, is always.
He was annoying. I love to hate him. He's annoying as fuck.
I mean, he still is annoying now, like with the work he did with Kenny Omega AEW. I mean, but still, Don Callis is still great. But it's kind of interesting because like somebody had the nerve to bring up the argument who was better, Paul Heyman or Don Callis. Never mind that Cyrus the Virus worked for Paul Heyman in ECW though. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Speaking of getting the fuck out of here, we got the Twitch rewind from last week, and we see the Undertaker helping Kane out. Remember last week, Kane was being attacked by many members of the roster, and Undertaker helped out his brother. Next,
yes,
we see DX come out to the ring, and Triple H says that Owen Hart has now become the hunted. Owen didn't have the goods to back up his words, and Triple H had to supply the lumber, he says. And he can see that his brother Bret Hart is watching, and he challenges Owen Hart to a match. Owen Hart, I'm sorry. You know what? This is where I'm all kinds of twisted. In this moment, so in my notes, I wrote, I see my brother watching. And normally when I'm writing what the wrestlers say, I just put that. Owen Hart didn't say that. I said that because I see my brother watching in the audience as this is happening. I am sorry.
it's okay.
So Triple H challenges Owen Hart, and then Owen Hart shows up on the Titantron, and Owen says he wants to break Triple H's other leg because Owens has a black heart, and black hearts feel no pain. And that's it for that segment. What do you think of the rivalry with Triple H and Owen Hart in this moment?
Man, you got to feel for Owen Hart around this moment though. At the same time, like especially with everything that happened a few months prior, and then like Owen actually wanted to leave after Montreal, but Vince wouldn't let him go because Vince knew what he had. But speaking when we were talking about Dark Side of the Ring earlier, that on our episode, they was like talking about how they was pitching like ideas to Owen Hart about working in the more adult-oriented attitude era, but Owen being a family man and everything else, he didn't want to do all that. So again, just hindsight, you're looking at it, you're looking at his eyes, you can tell like he didn't like necessarily was excited to be there, but still went out in the ring and put on some of the best matches of the night. You got to feel for the dude sometimes.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting time because he knows the history with his brother and everything. So, but
and another thing what I'm thinking about, here's one thing I don't understand. Like, now in modern day, WWE would not even like mention AEW or Impact or nobody on TV. But I just thought it was interesting how like even both like on Nitro and on Raw, they would like bring up like Nitro didn't do so much, but then like Raw, they brought up Bret Hart all the time, the Hulkster, the Nacho Man, everybody. I thought that was crazy.
No, it's interesting to see the parallels between then and now and everything. We are now coming back. Well, we're not coming back. We are going to come back because we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to enter the war zone, and we are going to be talking about Savio Vega with Owen versus Owen Hart. He might have someone up his sleeve. We see Paul Bearer come out. The New Age Outlaws take on the Headbangers, and Shawn Michaels has some words for the Undertaker, so stay tuned. The Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast family would like you to check out Anchor.
With Anchor, you can record, edit, and publish your own podcast for free.
Distributing your podcasts has never been this easy with Anchor, which allows you to send out your podcast to platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and much, much more.
Get uncensored and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What is up? Yes, definitely check out anchor.fm. It is the greatest place to create and distribute your podcast for free. Check out anchor.fm. And I want to thank you all for checking us out wherever you are listening to us. The Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Just search the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and keep on listening. Also, check us out on YouTube. Just type in the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. When you hit the notification bell, you'll get a little ding to your phone, and it will let you know when new content is published. YouTube is a great source where we put out different videos and a lot of fun stuff. So definitely check us out wherever podcasts are available and on YouTube. So P, let's jump right into the war zone. We now have Owen Hart taking on Savio Vega, who has Los Boricuas with him. During the match, DX come out on stage to watch. Savio nails a spinning heel kick, but Owen lands a crossbody and gets a 2 count. The Boricuas attack Owen Hart outside the ring, but Owen is able to nail a spinning heel kick and apply the sharpshooter on Savio. He rolls up Savio and he gets the victory. After the match, Boricuas attack Owen Hart on stage. Triple H slaps Owen, and then DX give Boricuas money. Clearly,
Payola.
Payoff, yes, sir. So, what did you think of the match and Boricua's attack after?
Well, I gotta also point out one thing. The commentary changes from JR, Kevin Kelly, and Cole to JR and Kane during the Warzone times. Kane during this match said Jesus or Vega or something like that put the word panic in the word Hispanic. And I guess back in 1998, that type of stuff was cool, but I don't think that would like fly necessary nowadays. Like on Hart, great as usual. You know, that beautiful spinning back kick of his. I always loved that move for some reason. I don't think I never seen anybody throw a spinning back kick like Owen since.
Yes, I agree. And it seems like there's going to be more stuff with DX and Owen Hart down the line in the next coming weeks. Up next, Paul Bearer.
Weakness nuts.
Yes, sir. Paul Bearer comes down to the ring, and he looks all messed up and dingy. He tells the Undertaker he hopes Shawn Michaels destroys him. Paul Bearer curses the ground the Undertaker walks on. He despises the air the Undertaker breathes, and he hates the Undertaker's guts. He says it's because of the Undertaker that he lost his king. He's left me. Paul searched everywhere for Kane, and Paul Bearer says, Kane, I know you're watching me. I took care of you for all these years. Come home, Kane, please. So Paul Bearer is begging and pleading for Kane to come home. At this point, the fans are thinking that Kane and the Undertaker are together. What do you think of Paul Bearer's pleading?
RP to Paul Moody, bro. First of all. Like RP to Paul Moody, first of all.
Yeah.
Paul Moody, like from all accounts, what I hear was like a great, awesome person, and he just knew, like Bobby Heenan, he just like one of those managers that knew how to work the business. Also, though, just one of those treasures that you truly miss. So I don't think it was really appreciated. He was like, well gone.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
All right, so you don't mind? Can I do the lead into the next match?
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. If I am mistaken, the camera cuts to the locker room. The Awesome walks out, and then the Headbangers are standing over Mark Henry, so you can like put 2 and 2 together there. Because I was about to say for the next match, Kofi said it best. This is the best intro of all the wrestling. Marvelous Marc Mero versus Tom Brandi, ladies and gentlemen. And take it away.
Yeah, so well, you forgot who came out with Marc Mero.
Oh, and Sable.
Sable.
Yep.
Love how you're the only. I'm gonna take a joke from King. You're the only guy who would look at and recognize Mero first. So Mero sends Sable into Tom Brady, and he attacks. I'm Tom Brady. Oh my god. Into Tom Brandi. I wonder how that match would have gone. Anyways,
I know, right?
Brandi punches Marc Mero in the corner, and he has a flying bulldog and gets a 2 count. Brandi sends Mero outside, and he lands on Sable, and then Brandi chops Mero outside. Brandi checks on Sable outside, and then Mero nails a double axe handle and sends Tom Brandi into the ring steps. He nails a TKO, but then Stone Cold Steve Austin runs in and nails a stunner on Marvelous Marc Mero. So Sable, of course, getting involved in this match seems like causing distraction of Mero, who's obviously jealous of Sable. What did you think of this situation in the storyline?
If I remember correctly, the WWF was trying to push Tom Brandi like big. What, right?
Yeah, it seemed like a bit at first, but like he had like no charisma at all.
No, he didn't. And if I ain't mistaken, this storyline has been well, after not, they did I did a promo clip like I know how like some storyline matches might end on Raw instead of pay-per-views. Was I know like people nowadays might complain about like storylines ending on Raw, but do not fear. The WWE has been doing that for millennia. Anyway, yeah, they did a little promo package about the storyline, like with Brandi like sticking up for Sable, and like Marc Mero like continuing on. Ooh, yikes! I will talk to you about this incident I got from Wrestling Observer later. But what was talking about? Oh yeah. So yeah, like I'm not sure how long the storyline has been going on per se, since this is my first podcast with you. And you any
it seems so the storyline has been going on a little bit recently. He's been, he made Sable wear a reindeer costume during the Christmas episode, and she already picked that up. One point he made her wear a potato sack. Tom Brandi has recently been coming to her aid, but obviously every time he tries, he falls short to Mero. So it's been going on for a little bit, but it's kicking into high gear at this point.
Of course, because I have to see what the next match's gonna be.
Yes. Well, next up we have Flash Funk taking on the artist formerly known as Goldust with Luna Vachon. And this is a moment that I know everybody watching when they were watching this on TV is going to be saying, what was that all about? Goldust comes out in blackface, and he's wearing an afro, and he has a stereo system with him. And there's no explanation as to what his character is supposed to be. There's no explanation. I mean, maybe he's supposed to be some kind of like, with the way he's coming out and dancing, maybe like a soul. Ooh, I'll let you cover this. What do you think of this Goldust wearing all this?
Well, let me just first say that Dustin Reynolds or Dustin Rhodes has publicly apologized for even doing this segment, and I realized the man had to do his job and everything else. Yeah. But yikes! Try to put that on the USA Network nowadays. That will get Raw canceled immediately.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also like unnecessary too. There's no point to it. So I feel like even if there was, like, even with the whole DX when they did it, there wasn't really a point. There was a storyline going into that one, but with this, there was no point to it. The match happened.
It was just a throwaway match on like Raw that like didn't even like have any storyline, and if I ain't mistaken, it ended on a no contest.
Yeah. Well, here's what happens. So the match starts. Flash Funk nails a cool kick. Luna pushes Flash off the top rope, which then causes a DQ win for Flash. After the match, Goldust lands a curtain call, and then Vader runs down and takes out Goldust, and Goldust retreats. So there really wasn't anything, just more lead up for Vader versus Goldust at Royal Rumble. All right, now P, we just talked about the match. What do you think about the whole situation with Goldust in this costume? We talked about how, it didn't really do anything really necessarily, for anything. It was just a way to get Royal Rumble more the match booked for the Royal Rumble with Vader. But do you have anything else to add to that, or did you think that it was just sort of like crummy that they did it like that?
Hold on. My whole thing about that, they was like using that to hype up the Rumble. They could have used literally anything else except a racist angle. They actually had to have Dusty Rhodes, who I need to let everybody know right now, he has publicly apologized for doing the segment. He said he was not comfortable with doing it. Mm-hmm. But there was literally no other way that Vince Russo, Bruce Prichard, whoever was writing the segment, they had no other idea to hype up the Royal Rumble. And if I'm not mistaken, Goldust was going through a period where he kept on dressing up in bizarre costumes. I have no idea why they thought this was a good idea.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and I understand like his character, like he was going back and forth with like, you know, with different characters and stuff like that. So I just don't understand. It's
And then to add on top of it, I'm not exactly sure what was the Goldust angle around the time. I know at first he was doing this, and then he, you know, started to do the reborn Christian thing, wanted to be the return of Goldust anyway. So yeah, none of that did not make any sense at all.
It made no sense. It was just a way for Vince to get a laugh, and at that time it wasn't funny, and it's still not funny in my opinion. But
Nope.
Jump aboard. We are about to be in the war zone, and we come back, and we wait, we're already in the war zone. We've been in the war zone. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we are.
I think I need to go into the freaking main event zone because I'm out of it right now. Clearly, I have my papers like all out of order right now. Okay, we got a promo on Steve Blackman. Now we move on to our main event. We'll talk about Steve Blackman next week because he's actually involved. The WWE Tag Team Champions, the New Age Outlaws, just taking on the Headbangers. This was a pretty quick match. Mosh misses a stage dive, and Billy rolls up Mosh for the win. After the match, Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie come down and clear the ring of the New Age Outlaws. What do you think of this rivalry with Cactus and Chainsaw with the Outlaws so far?
I mean, great, cool. My whole thing I didn't understand about this angle, how come Chainsaw Charlie couldn't be Terry Funk?
Yeah.
And then on top of everything else, they just had an NWA segment earlier in this show. They were doing an NWA storyline. So you acknowledge the NWA exists. Why not one of the greatest wrestlers from the NWA? And why can't you just acknowledge him? It makes no sense, bro.
Yeah. And also the thing too is the gimmick was supposed to be like sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and really didn't do anything for him. Like after a couple of weeks, you'll see as we continue with our recaps that the gimmick sort of just drops, and you're just like, okay, so you're right. They should have done some sort of NWA thing because it was a huge part of that promotion. But yeah, it's just sort of, you know, the old guys taking on the young bucks at this point. Next, we see a promo from Don King, who is the big promoter of Iron Mike Tyson. Don King says WrestleMania, Mike Tyson will join together. And he keeps talking about the two forces joining, and he's really selling that thing. He's like, Mike Tyson will be at WrestleMania. He's making a big deal about this. When you watched this back in '98, did you know who Don King was, and did you care?
Oh, of course. Like, you know, everybody in my family knew about like Mike Tyson and Don King. And by the time like Mike Tyson just got kicked out of boxing, and Don King, later news have reported about his shady dealings, how he did Mike kind of dirty. My whole thing about this, they were trying to hype up like around this time that Mike Tyson was gonna wrestle there at the WWF. So when Don King going like WrestleMania, Mike Tyson, you know, it's kind of a little bit of false advertising, but I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny to see Mike Tyson take a bump, which I think he did like maybe about 10 or 20 years later when they did that angle with DS and Jericho. I'm not sure.
When they did, what was the angle that you said?
Like about like 10 to 20 years later when Mike Tyson came back when they were doing the guest. No, he was
he was doing like he had the DX shirt. Yep, I remember that. Okay. I remember Mike Tyson for biting the dude's ear. I just remember they made a big deal about that. And I didn't really it's funny to look back at how many celebrities are involved now compared to then and how big of a deal they made Mike Tyson to be, which is sort of a reason why WWE tends to do.
I mean, at the same time, he was like arguably the best boxer of the '90s until he met, eventually he met Evander Holyfield. That's the story.
Yeah, dude, he was awesome. Mike Tyson, and the way he talked and everything was just perfect. We then get footage from Bad Blood when Kane attacked the Undertaker. Then the WWR last segment happens in our WWE.
Hey, wait, and one thing about that segment, right?
Yeah.
So about the segment when there was a showing footage of Bad Blood was happened in October. We are now in January. Like, this is kind of shows like how much Vince will pimp out a segment as long as possible because they were hyping up the whole entire night about saying you're gonna see unseen you'll see unseen footage of the Hell in a Cell match, and it's like you bought the pay-per-view, you saw all the blood, you saw the bumps, you saw everything. So it's like, what's the point?
They're like, let's sell the shit out of this no matter what happens.
I know, right? Because whatever.
Okay, so yes, that was they did really oversell a lot of their product, but that's what they're gonna do, you know. So the WWE champion, Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, comes down to the ring and he brags about being the Undertaker at Bad Blood. And Shawn Michaels says at the Royal Rumble, HBK is gonna prove that Undertaker is a loser, and Shawn Michaels will walk out still the showstopper, still the icon of WWF. He wants to give us fans something extra tonight. He wants the Undertaker to face him like a man so he can smack the Undertaker around. That's when Druids bring out a casket and Shawn Michaels laughs, saying that Triple H and China are pranking him. He's like, knock it off, guys. And he thinks that they're the ones in the casket, but Triple H and China show up on stage and they're like, we're not the ones in there, Shawn. Like, be careful. And Shawn looks at the casket. Undertaker opens the casket and attacks Shawn Michaels, and the footage goes off the air. What did you think of this segment? This is a famous segment of him just opening the casket and scaring Shawn Michaels. What did you think?
This has been repeated over and over and over again. I just find it funny that the technical main event was Raw, was the New Age Outlaws versus the Headbangers.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
we've come so far.
About the set. Well, what was that?
I said we've come so far, but we've got so far to go.
I know, right? Segment itself, it wasn't like really like anything memorable because, like I said, I low key have forgot about the segment even after like I watched it like years later. Let's see what I was about to say. One thing about Shawn Michaels, I don't want to like put any accusation out there, but he looked a little out of it. Then you heard the stories about like Shawn Michaels back in 1998 and 99.
Yeah, of course we know. He probably was. He's probably like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna go home and get fucking lit tonight. And before the show, I'm also gonna get lit too. During the show, I'm gonna get lit.
Even like even in the earlier segment, though, you could like even like earlier saying you look at his eyes a little bit, they looked a little glazed. But again, I'm not accusing anybody anything. Please, I don't need any lawsuits in my life.
I don't need any lawsuits. Things have been going good so far. I don't need anything else to happen.
Exactly. And I believe that will be the end of the show. There was a dark match that happened also, if anybody's interested. Let's see. It was, if I'm not mistaken, Cactus Jack, Steve Austin, Terry Funk, and The Undertaker defeated the Nation of Domination, which was D'Lo Brown, Faaroq, Kama Mustafa, and The Rock. So even like then, you could tell that they were trying to mess Stone Cold and The Rock together. So
yeah, well, they had great chemistry. I feel like we've talked about this a little bit earlier, how they had fought in the past. So I feel like why not? They're great athletes, so I definitely could see this is, like you said, the beginning of this.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I was absolutely mistaken. It's actually was Cactus Jack, Steve Austin, Chainsaw Charlie, and The Undertaker defeating the Nation of Domination.
Okay, so it was. I think their mind was probably trying to block it out.
Yeah, it was low key.
That makes sense. Well, it was a crazy night. A lot of stuff happened. Before we go, what was your favorite part of the night? There was a lot of stuff that happened.
I gotta say, highlights of the night. I wouldn't say I have a favorite of the night per se. Well, I do have one. The Jeff Jarrett stunner, because it became so memorable, especially after
that. Oh my god, he took that shit like a fucking champ.
Oh, of course, though. Just like how, like, I don't know, just the velocity of everything. How Jarrett just like, flop to the ground. I would argue to say that's one of the best stunner sales ever.
He definitely sold it for sure. For me, my favorite moment, what did I like? I liked Austin just stunning everybody. He just came in, took names, said fuck everybody, and we did. I also like seeing my dad and my brother. That was cool. But
Okay.
all right, we are gonna wrap this up. We are gonna be back next week with our next recap. It is gonna be Raw Is War from, if I'm correct, I think it's January. Let me see on here.
13th.
January 12th. January 12th. And stuff heats up there, and we will be back with that. Stay safe. Pete, thank you for joining us. He is going to be with us with these recaps, and we are on the road to the Royal Rumble. Got one more Raw to go, and then we have the Royal Rumble, and then WrestleMania is coming up after No Way Out of Texas. A lot of stuff happening, so stay tuned, stay safe, and we will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Peace.